So this is like, I mean, I love this idea of the ecosystem thinking, let's say, or cultivating ecosystems and working with nature also in
Hmm.
a way. Um, and I, you mentioned also in your book, and it reminded me of somewhere else where I'd heard it, kind of this idea of through me. And I wanted to ask you about that because,
Yeah.
again, like this idea. I mean, I can be in the victim mode. Life happens to me. I can be.
Yep.
I'm the creator of everything. I like by me mode, which is
Yep.
functional
Yep.
and productive. I mean, nothing against it. Um,
To an
or
extent.
I can move into this kind of through me mode, or even as me. And maybe that's kind of
Yeah.
the final part of your book where you talk about the creation and also awakening, or yeah. And can you talk
Yeah.
a bit more about that? It feels like it's kind of uh, the final stage, the most fulfilled stage of
Yeah.
living in the creative life, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the left hemisphere of the brain, that anxiety spiral, it goes tinier and tinier. Your life gets tinier and tinier. People who really give into their anxiety sometimes end up, unable to leave their homes. And this is not their fault. I'm not saying they're bad, but that's what anxiety does if you let it just have its way. On the other side of the brain, there's also a spiral, but it opens up as it goes forward. So at first, it goes into the arts, it goes into connection with people in a community, it goes into love and compassion. And if you keep creating and you keep connecting and connecting things, connecting people, connecting things in your business, if you keep doing that from a space of curiosity and love, self love, other love, it gets so huge that there's a point where psychologists identified maximum human fulfillment. And it's a state that researcher named Csikszentmihalyi, he called it flow. And it's where you're producing the maximum amount of dopamine and serotonin and feel-good hormones, and it's right at the edge of impossible for you. But when you get there, oof, it's, as one philosopher said, when you get to the top, it is easy, even though it is hard. If you keep going, like that violinist who was fully into that music, magic starts to happen. You can stretch time. You can expand the way you see until your creativity absolutely dazzles people. And as you move forward, it starts to feel like it's not really you doing anything. There is a sense that there's a broader intelligence that is vast, much bigger than who you are as an individual. And you start to lose the sense of separation from that vastness, and it starts moving you. So in China, the Taoists were, 5,000 years ago, they started talking about this, that the Tao, this benevolent flow of force, of energy, not force, but um, of this powerful benevolent energy. It sort of picks you up and starts to move you as if you're floating in a river. And sometimes the river gets very, very fast. There's a Taoist story about these scholars who are walking by a waterfall, huge waterfall, and it's white water everywhere, and they see a dead body in the water, and they're like, "Oh, we have to get it out and give it a proper burial." So they're saying, "How are we going to get in there? What do we do?" And as they're talking, this little old man pops out of the water, towels himself off, and walks off down the road. And they run after him and they say, "How did you do that? We thought you were dead." And he said, it's really easy. You go up when the water goes up and down when the water goes down." And they're like, "What?" That was where the Chinese wisdom traditions kind of poke gentle fun at the way we do things as machines and by rote, and we're going to memorize and force. That was the scholars. And those who live in harmony with the way things are get moved into the next thing. And it can look as if you're going incredibly fast and working incredibly hard and undergoing terrible changes. And to you, it's a joyride. It's
Yeah.
just fun.
Yeah.
You're not doing it. The water is doing it. The Tao is doing it.
Hmm. And how can we help people get into this alignment with the system, the bigger, the high intelligent, or the ground of being, the Tao,
Mm.
kind of uh, uh, you said you just keep doing the stuff that interests you. So kind of follow your curiosity and your creativity. Um,
Mhm.
uh, I also know that like the ultimate end of kind of this opening can be like this experience of unity or oneness, feeling really at
Mhm.
one, right? And can also be an extraordinary state of consciousness, kind of not just
Mhm.
the flow state, but also um,
Yes.
uh, uh,
That's at the edge of what science accepts, and beyond that is the mystery, and I'm here to tell that's why the first third of my book is about anxiety, the second third is about what science acknowledges, and the final third is about what happens in the mystery and the magic of a life that is beyond what our culture tells us is possible.
and I mean, I have some ideas, but I wanted to ask you, kind of, how can you help people move into the magic? Because there's a great, I mean, yearning, I think, for people to. It's like sometimes I think it's like a spiritual void or so left by
Yeah.
the demise of religion in Western
Yeah.
culture. And someone said, like, we have a God-shaped hole in our hearts. And
Yes.
then we try to fill it with substances, with distractions, with money, with status, and so on.
Yeah.
And the hungry ghost, right? It's
Yeah.
never enough. But actually, what you're looking for is this deep sense of connectedness, right? Or
Yeah.
union. And uh, like, is it possible to read your book or have a simple life coaching experience and move towards it, or is there something else? Like,
I think it's an act of courage that everybody has to do for themselves. The one thing we can do to help other people is to really commit to it. Like commit to our own integrity, commit to our own joy, our own creativity, and take the steps that lead toward that joy. Another thing I would say is cultivate stillness.
mm,
Um, eh, what you just said about the God-shaped hole in our hearts, I
mm,
think that, Freudian theory was obsessed with sexuality because his culture, Freud's culture, was very repressive about sexuality, which is natural. It's part of us. These days, I mean, I did 3 degrees at Harvard and had 3 children along the way, and that experience, especially because my second child had Down syndrome, it shook me right out of the whole social setting I was in. I had to look at what made it worthwhile to keep raising children in a place where I was very, very conditioned to think that that was silly and that was my personal life, and I didn't Harvard didn't want any part of that. But even more, it didn't want me to have any part of a non-materialist worldview. So what we have now is a deep repression of spirit, not sexuality, a repression of spirit, which is a natural part of ourselves. So if Freud were here today and he, came up with a system of analysis, he might be looking at dysfunctions around repression of spirituality. And it's not even religion represses spirituality. Mormonism repressed my spirituality hard because that wouldn't it as soon as I got spiritual, I left. um, so yeah, there's this incredible need, this ache, this yearning to be fulfilled. And even people who are madly successful as business people, the money doesn't do it. The success, even the fame, does not fill that gaping absence. But the pursuit of our own curiosity, creativity, compassion, those take us into the state of union. And there you find that you have enough. There's a story about Joseph Heller, the writer Joseph Heller. He was at a party where there were all these billionaires and, you know, socialites and famous people. And another writer said to him, wow, gosh, it must be weird. You're not that rich and everybody around you is rich. Don't you feel a little out of place? And he said, a little, but I have something they'll never, ever have. The other person said, what? And he said, enough. I have enough. And you could see the rapacious, like, appetite that people have where they're just consuming vast amounts of money and it's never enough, never enough. When you find that unity outside of all anxiety and beyond even the creativity, there's a sense of satisfaction, of enoughness that is like drinking from a spring of clear water all day, every day. There is genuinely a state of bliss that will make you know you have enough. And it will also, through you, make sure you keep having enough materially so that you can go on realizing you are not material in your essence. And you can experience the world beyond form while still in form. And that is just an ongoing state of magic.
Hmm.